What gets you up in the morning?
Of course, I sniffle at first. What doesn't get me up in the morning? Dude, I'm gonna get all poetic on you.
Okay.
Beauty,
Yeah.
life, hope.
Uh-huh.
I feel like I'm a pretty hopeful person.
Uh-huh.
So I generally, once in a while get bummed and all that artist shit. But can I cuss?
Yeah. This is explicit in iTunes.
Cool.
Yeah. So if you're underage, you have to kind of dig. I don't know how you get to it.
Yeah. I think I'm pretty hopeful. So I would say hope gets me up. Like I'm hopeful for the day, hopeful to make, lasting impressions on people and interact with people and be inspired. I don't know.
What gets you angry?
Ooh. Close-mindedness and like stubbornness. Yeah.
What do you still hope to achieve?
Oh my God. I hope to one day be like fulfilled with the art that I make in whatever capacity.
You don't feel fulfilled as of yet?
No way. Not even close.
Okay. So fulfillment is the achievement, and you don't know what form that's going to take.
I don't know. There's a lot of avenues of things that, I tattoo like, I absolutely love tattooing. We can talk about that, but it is very much a job for sure. Yeah. Not that I necessarily approach it like it's just a job. Yeah. Because it's very much not just a job.
It's a trade for artists.
It's a trade. And it's a craft. And it's also like a vessel for a lot of things to come for a person. But it is definitely very much a job. And I'm super thankful for it. But yeah, it's not just like, oh, I'm an artist. I'm a tattoo artist. I can blah, 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 blah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're listening to Artist with Brian. I'm Brian, here with
Miguel Chavez.
Miguel is a tattoo artist. Artist with Brian is brought to you by howtoplaypoker.video. 10 hours of winning strategies, 95% satisfaction, 100% free. Visit howtoplaypoker.video now. Miguel, have you ever messed up a tattoo and not let on to the client?
Oh, 100%.
Really? So it happens often?
If any tattooer ever tells you they didn't, they're full of shit.
It's like, it's
not that it necessarily happens often. It's just that like there's so many, you're doing something very difficult on a live moving person. Uh-huh. So whether it's that you make a mistake or sort of, go outside of a line or, just these subtle things, or if someone moves or not even intentionally moves, but twitches or sort of breathes in a weird way. And you kind of like, you're constantly reacting to this thing you're working on. So it happens pretty frequently, There's this, I had a feeling I was going to quote this because I love it so much. I think about it often, but this, pretty legendary tattooer in New York who passed away a couple of years ago. His name is Tom DeVita, and he always said, and I doubt he was the original person that said this, but and he was a tattooer, and he said, any imperfections that happen, oh my God, I'm going to totally blank it now. Any imperfections will add to its beauty. Mm-hmm. That's what it is.
One of my previous guests says there's a word for that. I maybe in Japan, in some language, there's a word is as it sits, something like that. As it rested.
Wabu sabi?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Someone brought that up.
Yeah. And I love that. I mean, it's totally like we're not robots putting markings on people. We're not a printer putting a sticker on someone imperfect. It's going to have an essence to it.
Yeah. Before I got a tattoo, I was very concerned about it being the right way. Yeah. But I got one tattoo, and now I see it as like a live performance. And you get the recording of it, and it's great. You have a vision, but you don't know what you're going to end up with. Totally. And that's sort of the ride. Yeah. Getting a tattoo is an experience as much as it is a permanent thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I would say I probably like one of the reasons that really attracted me to being a tattooer or to just like drew me to the environment of tattooing is my first experiences getting tattooed. It was just like unreal, you know. It was so different, and obviously, you know, it's painful, but it sort of triggers your adrenaline, and it triggers like all these endorphins, and it's just like, you know, and if you're in like a tattoo shop, I would say worth its salt, you're like looking at all this crazy shit on the walls, and like there's all kinds of images, and there's blood, and like all these intense skulls and flames, and it's like very like intense on your senses, you know. Yeah. And for me, that was just like, whoa, like what is this, you know? It felt very like outside of my daily experience.
What was that first tattoo?
It's a St. Michael on my forearm.
Did you go to St. Mike's?
No, but Miguel is
of course,
is Spanish for Michael, and my family's really religious, and so that image of St. Michael like bossing on the devil, you know, that was always, and even it's kind of weird because even as a kid, my family would do this. We would go to church at like really weird hours of the night or whatever, and so I was so young, and I would literally just be sitting on the pews like drawing this St. Michael image like over and over and over. It's so strange. Like it has a weird, but
so as an image, it was with you
early.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got my first tattoo, which you gave me, was an image of a cross.
Yeah.
Not even a crucifix, just black solid cross.
Solid cross. Can't go wrong.
I picked it because I knew I would never regret it.
Yeah.
It was like, what thing has been with me that I know will be with me?
Yeah. Yeah.
In one way or another, whether it's figurative, literal, symbolic, iconic.
No, I completely resonate with that.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that. Like when I was in, you know, I mean, high school, even middle school, I started getting into like more like punk music and metal, and all that stuff sort of started shaping just like what I believed and all this stuff. And I remember even at that point, you know, being in like punk or hardcore and stuff like that, like you're around so many like super gnarly and just like tattooed people, like totally free people, seemingly. And so I remember being like, man, I want to be covered in tattoos, but like I have no idea what I would get. And at that point I was kind of going through a weird thing with you know, my faith and whatever, where I was like, I don't believe in anything, I don't blah blah blah, and but then at the same time I was still like, oh well, you know, this will be with me forever. Like even if I don't believe in anything, like I know that I love like religious iconography. And I had the feeling that even if I got covered, because a lot of my tattoos are like religiously influenced or whatever, and I just sort of had that feeling that I was like, I don't know, like maybe one day I'll like come back to this like idea of like faith or religion or whatever.
Yeah, how do you interface with religion now?
It's complicated.
Are you you're in your 20s?
I'm 29.
29. Okay, it's complicated for you.
It's very complicated. Yeah.
Okay.
It is very complicated. Yeah.
But you're still involved, at least with your thinking and
for sure.
You're searching.
Yeah, I would say like my parents probably would wish I would be a lot more traditionally Catholic, but unfortunately that's not quite my path. But yeah, it's like, I mean, it's very much just like in my practice, I would say I'm definitely pretty spiritual, and like, I don't know, stuff like it resonates with me a lot. I could go off on that. So.
Yeah. So that we heard about the first tattoo you got. What was the first tattoo you gave?
So I've been tattooing professionally for like 5 years, and that was started at 4-Star. I learned under Mark V. Hill, who's like, if anyone listening has, I'm sure there's a ton of people that know who Mark is, but if you haven't, get tattooed by Mark. He's the OG, Santa Fe OG.
Really?
And he's one of the best tattooers, like legit out there, and he's just loves to fish and slay amazing tattoos. So shout out to Mark. He's the best.
So one of the best in the country, and he just happens to live here.
Yeah, and he's just the way he approaches everything is just amazing, and very grateful to learn from him. But also, yeah, you should get tattooed by him because he's like a killer, silent killer in the industry for sure. So I learned under him, and so the first tattoo I did, as an apprentice professionally, was on him, and it was this like little flash tattoo that was like a skull with like a feather on it on him, and he surprised me. He was like you're gonna tattoo me first. I was like, oh shit, what? And it's all blown out and gnarly looking now. It looks okay.
That's such a good master, such a good instructor.
Yeah.
Tattoo me first.
Yeah. He was brave, and he had threatened me, not threatened, but he was like, you're gonna tattoo he was like, you're tattooing my girlfriend on Tuesday, and I was like, what? And then he was like, and then Monday came or something like that, and he was like, actually, you're tattooing me first, then you're tattooing her, and I was like, oh my god, this is like
okay. Terrifying. And then who was the third person?
I have no idea.
But it turned into a member of the public that no one knew.
No, at that point it was like you're doing like free tattoos for a while, under real close guidance and like people you kind of know. Then there's a few months of that.
And that's to protect the shop's reputation.
Yeah, and dude, people line up for free tattoos. They understand you're learning and whatever. Obviously, like if you completely botched it in a horrible way, they'd be pretty hurt. But like, generally, with a good mentor, with a good teacher, like he's not going to let that happen. He knows your parameters of how far you should go.
The consumer also knows that you'll probably take like twice as long.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's part of the deal. That's cool. Brilliant.
But then you get people that are slow in general. So I don't know. I worry a lot with the timing and stuff.
You do.
I kind of have like an old school mentality that like if you can do it really nice, you should be able to do it really fast. And but at the same time, I don't think people are worried as much about that as I am, or maybe a lot of tattooers. Like,
it's one of those things where you actually hope it takes a long time. It's like being seen by the doctor. You want.
Yeah, like I get weird if people are waiting a long time, like just waiting to get tattooed. But then I'm also like, I've never really complained about being in a tattoo shop, so I would assume other people are stoked to be in a tattoo shop.
Yeah, you don't want to. When I went, I didn't want to ruffle any feathers. I was like, I want everything to be copacetic, so I get the best tattoo possible because I'm the one with it.
Totally, yeah. And then I can go on a rant about grumpy tattooers and like old school mentality tattooers, and you're like, fuck this. I don't want to. I mean, for me, like, I don't want to get tattooed by someone that's like rude or pushy or whatever, or like dismiss. You know what I mean?
You don't want a bad experience.
Exactly.
It's very as much experiential as it is.
Again, permanent. Totally. Absolutely.
When you were a kid in the pews doodling, did you want to be a tattoo artist?
No. I didn't realize that I wanted a tattoo until I had been tattooed. So I got my first tattoo the day I turned 18, like the first thing I did. And then it took me a little while, but I think in the back of my head, I knew I was going to art school for photography, and everybody I was like around wanted to do wedding photography, and I had like no interest in that.
No.
Wow.
Huh? No, I was going to ask you, did you go to UNM? But
I did, yeah. I did go to UNM.
I was like, it doesn't matter where anyone
I did.
I
loved it. I was very grateful. I had a wonderful experience at UNM, and I slowly sort of transitioned to the fine art department, whatever that means. But so painting and drawing, and that was also like sort of coincided with like being obsessed with tattooing, not really understanding how anyone even just like approaches it. Cause to me, it just seemed like this massive mountain. So I was like, what? So I started kind of researching that, doing that. And then, was also like starting to take a lot more like drawing classes and painting classes, and sort of fell in love with like the fine art aspect of the art world or whatever too. So, and that's still a constant thing in my brain. I'm like, tattooing, art world, it's like.
Does the industry get all its artists from the fine arts world?
No.
And so there's people that come up with no artistic skill, but just love the culture and learn because they have to.
Mostly in the history of tattooing, a lot of it is very much like a craft. It's very much like it's funny because a lot of it is like lineages, like family members, or you teach your son or you whatever. It's like it's very much like that. I think so. Ed Hardy, who's like, it's kind of funny. A lot of people think that like the old Ed Hardy, like blinged out, like funny T-shirts and shit. Like I've had friends in art school actually be like, "What is that? Like what?" Like I checked out an Ed Hardy book from the Fine Arts Library, or whatever, and some girl was making fun of me for it, and I was like, "You don't even know who Ed Hardy is, do you? Like what?" Like she's like, "It's just the guy with the sweaters and the funny hats and all that shit," and I'm like, "Dude, that guy changed tattooing as a whole."
Really?
Absolutely.
Before the brand.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Some like French designer approached him about like making this into a brand or whatever, and I think he worked so hard and changed this thing. I'm like, dude, fucking sell your shit. He's like made millions from that stuff.
You say he changed it, what, by just transcending tattooing and introducing it to new people, or?
Yeah, he basically like, he went to art school. He went to like San Francisco Institute or whatever, and he changed it from being this like flash, you go in, you look at all the flash, you pick one off the wall, like sailor, military, la da 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 da, whatever. He changed it from that to being like, okay, we're gonna like approach this as like more of an artistic thing. And
he was the first.
He was like one of the first for sure.
What year?
Not the first.
Like thereabouts.
I'm gonna totally
mess this up.
I want to say like in the 80s.
Yeah.
I think his first like probably the first private tattoo studio, like, well, next to the Japanese people, but first private, like American private studio probably was Realistic Tattoo, I think, which is, and I could totally be wrong on that name, but I'm pretty sure it's Realistic Tattoo in San Francisco. But yeah, I mean, you talk to any, like, it's funny, people will tell me, oh, I want a tattoo, and I want a tattoo. I'm like, give me like 3 of the best tattooers ever, and see what they say. And I'm like, well, go do some research. And not like I'm all la-di-da high and mighty.
Oh, they want to be a tattooer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm like, go do the research and then, and then get somewhere. Because it's important.
I have the same thing with screenwriting. Like, if you haven't read like 2 or 3 of the 15 books I've read that are foundational to just like what story is.
Totally.
And myth. Yeah. If you haven't read them, I'm like, well, read them and come back. Like, I want to have a conversation with you.
Exactly, yeah.
You're like inspired and you're hungry.
Yeah.
But let's have some common context.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's so important. Like, I think people see like the like outside looking in, oh, the screenwriter, they have like a cool, their life is so, they write stories and it turns into movies and blah, blah, and same thing with tattooers. Oh, they're rock stars. They have money and blah, blah, blah. It's like a lot of people don't realize that there's so much more that goes into it. So much like alone time and study time. And,
oh, yeah. Anything worthwhile is, and I think that's extremely difficult.
Yeah. Enjoy it the most, really. Mm-hmm. I totally sidetracked from the beginning of that question. Oh, so the scribbles of the St. Michael on the pews. No, but I've always like just sort of felt like I had to be an artist. Not like I felt like I was an artist, because I don't even know if I'm an artist now.
Yeah.
But I've always sort of just felt like I had, like, that was it.
Me too.
Like it's just there. Like, so I went through this. I always think of this as like a pinnacle thing, but when I was in like 5th grade, I started just like getting super depressed and anxious, and
just spin it a little closer.
Cool.
Super depressed and anxious.
Super depressed and anxious, and like, and I'm like a 5th grader. I'm like, what do I know? But it affected me, and it affected school and all that. And a teacher of mine started having my parents take me to this like school therapist or whatever, and I don't even know how it came up, but she said she told my parents to take me to and this is in Santa Fe, to take me to the museums. Like, we have so many museums here, like once a week. And they're like, on Sunday it's free or whatever. And so they started doing that, and it was just like something clicked. It was so weird. Just like standing in front of all these like paintings.
Yeah. The density of it.
Yeah.
To be surrounded,
and just like, I kind of like forgot about, I don't even know what I was like, just like 5th grade existential like realization of being like a human being or something. I don't know.
Maybe there's other people out there that felt like you.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I had it was late though. It was when I was like 26 or 7. I just started feeling artists like really hard. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to be an artist. I knew it all my life, but now I'm going to go do it.
What do you mean you felt artists? Like,
I just like appreciated what they were going for, whether it landed or not. And when it landed, I was like in love with them. I was like, wow. And if it was brave and it landed, even more in love.
Yeah.
So I just was like, I want to do that. I really admire like liberated people, self-possessed people. Like stand-ups are often that way. But
for better or worse,
artists who can live like artists get the pass to live authentically. And if you do it well, gracefully, and you're talented and you put out good work, it's like a beautiful thing. So I start, like in my late 20s, mid 20s, I started really tuning into people that were doing that. And I had all these role models and I wanted to join them.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like a pull, you can't, I don't know. I think about it now. I'm like, what else, like what other thing could I do? Like that would be, but I don't think I could do it.
Whether one of the classic questions on Artists with Brian is if tattooing weren't a thing, what would you be doing?
I would be Probably painting. Although lately I've been sort of obsessed with like the idea of writing.
Really?
Yeah, I interacted with this person. I'll spare you the horrific details, but she was just like, I just haven't come across a person like this in a long time and I'm mostly a very positive person, but just her as like an archetype for whatever she's just like so like devoid of, it's so fucked up like talking about it, but just devoid of like interest in life.
Oh yeah.
And I wouldn't even say she's depressed. She's just like, I mean, I don't know this person that well, but like, and it just inspired, because I was like trying to talk about like storytelling and like whether, if you know, so for me as like a visual artist, I'm still figuring out how to like capture storytelling into like, yeah, I'm just like figuring out how to like envision my voice and like what story do I want to tell as like a visual artist.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense to me as a writer that tattooing, we have this word in like linguistics called codified, like formalizing in print. And so you're doing that with, you're telling stories through images. So it does seem intuitive to me that you'd be reaching out then to writing, because it's putting things in print. You have to plan a lot and synthesize the emotion, what you're trying to express.
Yeah, and I think for me personally, I love words, and I love reading, and I love stories, whatever. But I feel like for me to really understand something, even if it's like with drawing, like my most like successful or whatever, like I feel like I get somewhere with drawing, because drawing is super difficult, obviously. And I feel like the best times are when I have like people giving me feedback, you know, or people like kind of critiquing me, even though it's very difficult to have your shit critiqued and stuff, you know, but it's also super helpful. But I just need like words. Like I formulate my thought process. This probably sounds so weird or ridiculous, with words and descriptors, and like I really feel like I can't understand something unless someone is like kind of like, I can read it, sure, I can read it, blah blah blah, I sort of get it, blah blah blah, but until I'm having that like conversation of like, oh, this is this way, or like, why didn't you think about it that way, like, oh, you know, that's when my brain starts to sort of click.
Writing helps you organize your thoughts.
Yeah.
And
it
emotions.
Seems so like obvious,
me,
you know, it's totally like seems obvious.
It's always cathartic for me. Like I write tragedies about characters, and then in retrospect, I'm like, oh, that was linked to something I went through, and it's cathartic. And I was synthesizing emotions. When you write drama, I guess when you're not writing nonfiction, you're synthesizing ideas exclusively. What advice would you give your 15-year-old self?
Oh man, dude, I was a wreck when I was 15.
A wreck?
I was a fucking wreck.
Like drug use, you crashed cars, drinking, or just a wreck, like depressed and anxious?
I never have been a super into drinking, thankfully, because I feel like if I went down that path, it would have been quite a disaster. Mm-hmm. I smoked a bunch of weed. I think that saved me, though. Started doing psychedelics. I think that saved my life, too.
Yeah.
I dropped out of high school when I was like 15, actually.
You dropped out?
Dropped out.
Okay.
With the encouragement of my sophomore English teacher, which was dope. Wow. Yeah. She'll remain nameless, but
what
she changed
was the plan?
my life.
Why did she consent?
She just saw like, I don't know. I just was on some other shit, and I was like into the photography, so I was super into art already and different forms of art and stuff. And I think she just saw that, I don't know, I feel like she saw something that maybe not many people saw, that like I was either going to go, like I had the chance to like run with like being an artist and kind of doing my thing, or I would have gone, you know, and I went to Capitol. I hear it's a lot better now, but at that time it was like pretty intense, and like just like this like weird like art punk kid that
if you're marginal at Capitol, you're better off not being there.
And it was like, you know, there was numerous times that like I would be with some friends, and like I hung out with all kinds of different people, and like maybe they were like the tough kids or the gangster kids or whatever the hell it was, and like there was numerous times that we would get like circled and like threatened, and like, you know, my friend got a brick thrown at his head, and like I don't know how we didn't take him to the hospital, but so, you know, shit like that, where I was like, I need to get the fuck out of here, dude. This is terrible. So my advice would be, but then there was like all sorts of like personal things that I think probably from trauma of that I was just like, that my advice would be to just relax, breathe, appreciate your parents, at least for me personally. Like, I feel like I kind of was shit to my parents at that time.
Yeah.
And enjoy it. Yeah. I thankfully feel like I did, like, other than being like kind of an asshole to like my parents and my family, I think I followed what I needed to follow, thankfully. Like, I feel super blessed that I like, because I followed my thing. I graduated in like a couple weeks. Literally, I got my GED in like a couple weeks after leaving. And then and all my friends were like, "What? How the hell did you do that?"
I see. If you're one of the brightest pupils, dropping out of public school and getting your GED is not. It's sort of neutral.
It's neutral.
Yeah,
fair. It's never negatively affected me.
Okay.
How do I do this? I take this thing.
Yeah, let me get you. We'll put this on pause. I won't actually pause it, but yeah, I want to get you a bowl.
I'm just gonna dangle this dripper over. But I feel like this is my opportunity to do ASMR now. Yeah. Dangling, tapping. I need a brush. Thank you.
If the freshman artist at Capitol listens to your advice, do you think they can hang in school and do the 4 years?
I don't want to speak like here or there. I think it's such an individual path, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think I was just like critical of school because I didn't have like resources that I needed. I didn't have art. Dude, I took my first art class in college, like legit art class, you know? My mom put me in like a art camp thing one time, and that was actually really cool. But other than that, it was like so I think it's just dependent on someone's path. You know, I can't say here or there. I would say if you're unhappy with where you're at, no matter what age, like, you know, like talk to people about it. Like, don't, you know, you're not just because you're young or whatever, like that doesn't mean shit. Like, you're still human. You're still feeling stuff. Like, talk to whoever you feel comfortable with. And if they dismiss you, then go to someone else, you know, because someone's going to listen.
So you had said listen to your parents, but maybe also talk to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, for sure. You know, and thankfully my parents, they knew something was up. And so when I brought them all the paperwork of what I needed to do. And I was like, and they're like fairly strict, at least they were, you know. And I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to leave school. I want to go to college in the fall. I want to get my GED, whatever. Somehow they were down. Thankfully, I think they saw that something needed to change. Then they tried to get me to go to St. Mike's, and I was like, if you want me to do heroin, then I'll go there. But
really,
that's
the reputation.
I'm throwing shade.
You
at
are.
St. Mike's right now.
What other?
I'm gonna get sued.
Let's call it an urban legend. Tell me some other Santa Fe urban legends.
Oh, I honestly don't know.
So Capitol's easier now.
Capitol's better
it's
now,
safer?
Not easier. I think it's safer, and I have
Yeah.
friends that teach there. I hear good things about it. That teacher that I loved, she's still there. She's badass. And I hope she's affecting other people's lives just as much. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I don't know a cool Santa Fe drama really.
Yeah.
Like St. Mike's, it was always, I'm just going to throw it out there. It was always the rich white kids that had the good drugs, the heroin, the meth, and that shit.
I see. So there's a mixing. There's a mixing at St. Mike's that isn't necessarily happening at other schools. I mean, you have this group of kids there that have money to bring drugs, and share them. Yeah. The first time we were like buying weed, I was like probably like 14 or 15. We were buying weed, and we were buying weed from these St. Mike's kids, and the first time I ever like held heroin in my hands was from this dude. He's like, "Hey man, you want to try this thing? Check this out." So you've held it.
I've held it, yeah. And we were right next to we were parked right next to the Cathedral Park. And I was like, "What is this?" It was like in a little baggie. It was like a little black thing. It was like, I don't even know. I think he said black tar, or I don't know what he's something. And I was like, "You mean like heroin?" He's like, and he wouldn't say it fully, but he was like, blah, blah. And we were just like,
I heard the plaza used to be awesome. That it was a skateboarding culture. Did you go hang out there?
Not as much. I was a little bit like a Warehouse 21 kid, but but not necessarily the plaza. Definitely that park, Cathedral Park, was like people did a lot of party there and did a lot of shit there.
Yeah, it was like an outdoor event every night of the week.
Yeah,
or weekends.
I don't know why I didn't like get too involved in that.
Yeah, but, and then do we agree that I've heard it? They just outlawed skateboarding. They shut it down
in
like
the plaza?
Years ago. That was how they got rid of the, right there's that parking lot. Yeah, I guess the plaza itself. I don't know.
Damn.
I've only been here 7 years, so I'm picking up slowly.
They're trying to bougie up in that. Mm-hmm. They're trying to scare away all the...
Do you remember they tried to ban street traffic? Some of the vendors wanted to change it to a walking-only shopping district.
Well, that, and then they were trying to get like food trucks to be in that area too, and they denied, which is fucking ridiculous, dude. It's like...
You want food trucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
At events, there's some food trucks there. It's a great experience.
I think it's cool. I mean, like, it only has to be at night.
But it's like an anti-compete. It's always the business owners.
But it's also like late at night too. Like there's only a few bars around there. Like why make people get in your car and go drive when they can hang out?
If there was a food truck by Slow and Low, wow, they'd sell so much more alcohol.
Yep. More alcohol. I mean, I don't know. All the people that are around there are freaking like the richy or like touristy people anyway. It's not like it's going to draw. I mean, there's locals and stuff too, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I think they're worried about it like drawing the sketchy people to it. And I'm like, I doubt it. You know,
until I lived in walking distance, I never went to the plaza. Parking's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Until
you just park wherever you want, and then you figure out that no one's going to give a shit.
That's funny. How do you take care of your hands?
I could be better about it. I try to. Do you mean like what? Like literally, like.
You know,
the health of my hands.
My girlfriend helped me come up with this question. We thought maybe like a masseuse. Your hands are so critical to your craft that you have to maintain them.
Yeah, they hurt. The hand, my left hand is the hand that I stretch with, like stretch the skin, and that hurts me the most because it's like constantly flexing and intense. But I do try to get massages pretty regularly. Mm-hmm. I just bought one of those like massage gun things. That's been really awesome. Because my hands hurt a lot, but also like my back hurts a shit ton.
Oh, yeah, from the posture.
Yeah, just being like my shoulders like kind of like forward facing or whatever. Yeah, your body is really, it's really intense. Your hands obviously, but even more so like just your body in general. My eyes lately have been like kind of bugging
Oh my
me.
God, yeah, the
I
focus.
I got this like ring light thing, and I feel like it, obviously we have to have a lot of light with what we're doing, but I feel like because you can shift like it's LED and you could shift it to like blue to warm or whatever. And so I realized that when the blue is on, it's like it just like messes my eyes up. So that right now, like the thing concerning me is like my eyes have been really hurting or like strained. I feel all like disoriented. But
and
also,
you can't use blue blocking glasses because the blue is on purpose so you can see the tattoo better.
No, not necessarily. I mean, in theory, I guess kind of that's what I thought. I managed to like put it in this middle ground, but yeah, not necessarily. I mean, as long as there's light, you just need to be able to see what you're doing, obviously. But I do use the blue blocking glasses, but I think because it's coming from the top, I don't know.
Have you heard of any artists dropping out of the trade because of these?
Oh yeah,
body issues.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
For sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Body issues or just like, mental issues, like energetic issues. Uh-huh. It's an intense thing, dude. Tattooing is intense.
Well, because how long are your shifts and how many tattoos are you doing?
It totally varies. You could do anywhere from, 1 big tattoo a day, 2 big tattoos a day, 3 or 4. I've done, I don't know, for like fun stuff, I've done like 15 tattoos in a day, whatever. That's
5 days a week.
Right now I'm on 4, thankfully, because I'm commuting now. But yeah, generally it's about 5. Some people only work 2 or 3, depending like what. That's the thing, dude. It's like, it's so fun. Like you can create your reality where it's like, and while I'm on, like, I definitely think some people could probably have a better work ethic. I also think it's totally up to you. If you've established your career and you want to work 2 days a week and that it's supporting your income or whatever, then do it, But
yeah, I noticed you announce on Instagram when people cancel, so you have open slots. Because you have a long booking, like you're booking. How far out are you booking?
Not super long. In the summer, it was like maybe a month, maybe a month and a half. Right now, it's just like maybe a week or 2. Like,
oh, really?
Kind of slows down, yeah.
But people that are ready to get tattooed today, whatever day it is, can check your Instagram, Miguel Chavez.
Yeah, and like honestly, if it's a small-ish thing, depending, like definitely there's times that I don't have time, but if it's like a fairly straightforward thing, like you can hit me up. And lately I've been doing walk-in, like mostly walk-ins on Saturdays. So
cool. You keep a day for walk-ins.
Yeah. Yeah, I try to book like maybe like one appointment just to like know I'm gonna do something at least in case it's slow, you know.
I just try to do that in my life in general, so I have at least one thing done per day.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, just to like get me in the zone.
Get you started, yeah.
And then from there it's just like some walk-ins, and I love like walk-in tattoo culture, man.
Will you do like a 3-hour walk-in?
Yeah,
you will.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I mean, it just depends, like, because obviously, like, the tattoo you got to do, that's, say, 3 hours, but then how long is it going to take to draw it up? You know, it could take 20 minutes, it could take an hour, just depends how complicated. But yeah, yeah, for sure.